Hi and welcome to the second fly fishery focus on Cadence Fly Fishing TV. You join me here today at the fantastic Sharpley Springs Trout Fishery near Seaham in County Durham. We've got 5 lakes to go at. It's a cold December morning and the one thing that I'm really wanting to catch more than anything else is in this lake behind me now. This is the Cuthbert Lake and it's Tiger Trout only. Fingers crossed we can get a one. Not interested. Oh. Thinking about it. Oh. That one has come from straight out of the weeds. Didn't even know it was there and it just came from behind. It's an older one. It's a good looking fish, but there was another one going for the fly at the same time as that one. Brilliant. That's a nice tiger, but he's been in for a while, so good start. They're a bit hard to hold on to these things. Get him back, he's fine. Let's have another little drop in there. The thing with the tigers is, you may see 1 or 2 cruising around, but a lot of them will lie under the weed, under your feet. So let the fly drop past the holes and they'll just lunge out and take it like that last one did. There was 2 in that hole there, but I didn't even know they were there. But one of the things with these is don't give them too much pressure, because they're a bit cleverer than most fish, but they're also really aggressive. So there's one there, he's turning that look button now. That. So at the minute I can see 1 fish in front of us, but he's not really bothered. I'm looking for fish as I'm moving along. If I can't see anything, I'm looking for a little gap in the weeds. Still got on the bottom. Got to be careful because they like to be around the sides, they also know where people have fished, so they can spook really easily. Can't see anything there, but there's a little bit of a deep hole. I'm watching the fly. I'm intentionally fishing with a bright fly so I can see it, and if anything takes it on the way out, it goes out like a light bulb. Bit of weed. So I have got an indicator on, but I'm not really using that. I'm actually watching the fly, and then every now and then the fly will go out of sight when it gets into too deep, and I will use the indicator for the last few inches of the drop. The tigers do tend to take it when it's near the bottom as opposed to mid-water. So now I'm watching the indicator, I can't see the fly. I was hoping I'd see some more fish in the sides, but you can't see a one, still keep dropping the fly in occasionally, because they will come from a long way off to grab the fly. This is pretty clear water, so they can see you from a long way off. Fish there. You normally know straight away if they're interested, they just accelerate a bit towards the fly. This one's having a look. Nope. He's interested though, so the fact that he moved towards it was good. It's a good fish. That is a good fish. Whoa. That one took near the bottom. It's trying to get into the bottom. Oh, this is perfect, this. I'm going to guess that this is 6 pound. Might have been the fish that came on a look before. There's another one swimming around with it. Often found with these things, they don't do much to start with and then they go really powerful. Like this one is. I think we've got a bit of weed trouble here. Arm's absolutely aching. He's been in and out of the weed about 3 or 4 times. He'll keep going back in, I'm sure. If you just put your finger a little bit above the cork handle, you just ease your pressure on the arms a little bit if it's a heavy fish. There we go. Whoa. Still shaking his head. Let's get rid of that weed. He's still not really turning sideways on, but the weed's weighing him down. That's it, get in. Superb. Whoa. That is a tiger that will be easily 8 pound. Well, that's a great start of the day. That's the second tiger, but this one's a really proper one. It's a big old beast. It didn't take long at all. It might have been the fish that just came and took the fly before, but we haven't bothered weighing it. But I think this one, it's fairly safe to say, is in the 8.5 pound class. They're a bit slippy. Lovely tiger. He's ready to go. He's recovered in the net. He's fine. Brilliant. Hey, magic. That's a great start. Even though it's early December and there was ice on the car this morning, tigers, rainbows, browns, they'll all have a go in the winter. I've come onto this lake before when half of it's been frozen and had tigers out. Just to explain the setup here, this is the Cuthbert Lake at the very top of the Sharpley complex, and this is a tigers only lake, which is really unique. It's a brilliant thing to have. There's some magical tigers in here, like we've already seen, but I think there is a couple of rogue big browns and one big rainbow, but yeah, it's pretty much all tiger trout, and they'll feed all year round. So if it's icy in the morning when you wake up, don't worry. Actually, if you fish just down the side of the ice, it's probably not a bad little tip. There's water temperature differentials and they will be under the ice. So bear that in mind when you're fishing. You don't just go to the very wide open water. This lake is called the Cuthbert because it was where St Cuthbert of Lindisfarne was having his coffin carried back to Durham Cathedral, and somehow they got it stuck for 2 or 3 days, I think, and that was apparently about 100-200 yards from where we're stood now. And I'm sure throughout the day there'll be a point where Chappie gets it on the camera where the actual St Cuthbert cross that grows out of the lake that we're on now, that's what that's dedicated to. If you're trying for one fish, 3 drops, 3 retrieves is pretty much it for that fish. So these ones are interested, but they're just coming up with a fly and turning away, and that's because they've seen this one quite a few times before now. So I'm going to go to a smaller fly, just tied with a little bit of slush. I think it's like a yellowy one. I'm not really too bothered about the pattern. The main thing is that I can see it. Now I've got the sun pointing towards me like this now. I'm not putting as much of a shadow on the water, so that might help a little bit. Can't see anything, so just drop the fly in. That's big. This bit here has got deepish water close in, so I can't see any fish, but there's a good chance there'll be one under that raft there. Little fish, little trout. See the fly moving from side to side. I think what we'll do after I've had another few yards along here is I'll come back and put on a snake with a sinking line, because these things are aggressive. They can't stand up to much pressure, but if you just have 2 or 3 casts in each spot, the response would be pretty quick. And I'm not covering the water out in the middle of the lake yet, I'm just doing the bit around the edges first. Right, one of the flies that we use here at Sharpley for me and my friends that have been, it's probably our most successful fly of all, I would have said, is this slushy bug. It's nothing special. The material's special, but the actual fly itself's nothing secret or anything like that. It's just like an FNS slush there. But the thing is with this stuff is it's translucent. So I think translucency in a fly is a massive thing. And if it's translucent, the fish can believe it's like an old, I don't know, a piece of rotten fish carcass or something like that, something glamorous like that. The thing is with this material as well is, if you tie underneath, like with a luminous thread or any coloured thread underneath, it will show through. So it just helps with that illusion of life, I suppose, or death in the case of a carcass. But underneath there is luminous chartreuse thread, just like on the colour of the collar, and you can maybe just see a tiny glow. When it's actually in the water you can see it more, but I don't know what the camera's picking up here, but in summary that thing looks like a bit like a bit of ice that you've crushed together in your hand, and it seems to really work well. This colour is probably our best for me and my friends here at Sharpley, so give this a try with a tungsten bead on, and then underneath there is a jig hook, which I need to sharpen, by the way. Anyway, hopefully you'll catch a few on one of these. They're kind of coming up to the fly, and they're not really taking it. It's like a drive-by take where they come lunging up, right up to the fly, just miss it by a little bit and then turn away, but trout often do that. Still on the Cuthbert Lake after the tigers. This is the last hurrah before we'll leave it for a few hours. Got a dye 3 on now and a white snake on a fairly short leader. If I'm going to get a take, it'll be the first 2 or 3 casts, I think, but I'm letting that go down fairly deep because any fish that I've coming out of luck have been near the bottom, so try it a little bit of speed. That's let that go down too much. And lift it. So being really careful when this fly's dropping through the water, because I already know that they take it on the drop. So keeping a figure of 8 in the line to keep it tight, so anything does take it, it'll lock up. Just come down now from the Cuthbert Lake after those tigers, and we're now on the Albert and Alice Lake, which is, I think, is the second biggest lake of the 5. The owners, Simon and Carol, tell us that the Albert part of the lake was Simon's great-great-grandfather, who donated the bulk of the money to the eye hospital in Sunderland, and I think Alice is the daughter of Simon and Carol, so it's nice to have a bit of family history. At the minute it's really flat calm, really difficult, bright sunshine, clear water. It doesn't get much harder, but tactics then for me would generally be to fish an indicator, which isn't everybody's cup of tea, but There's not going to be much swimming about too fast in this, I don't think. Fish are going to expect to find stuff suspended. So I'll fish an indicator, and also I'll fish it quite deep because it's so bright and so clear. Every now and then just give it a little twitch just to move the fly, lift it up a few inches. I think it's going to be quite a hard day today, so Chappie's challenge, which was to catch a fish on each lake, is already looking dubious, but we've got one of the 5 ticked off. I think we'll get one out the Noose. It's a lovely day though. I think I'm fishing there at 5 or 6 foot. I think there's probably scope to put another 2 foot on there. One of the things about fishing in a flat calm is that any memory that's in a floating line will be shown up. Flat calms show memory badly. So this is a good example of one of our Cadence floating fly lines. There's no memory in that, just a tiny little bit near the end, but that's a good take indicator as well. But if you don't have a take in the first couple of casts, make sure you fish some fresh water just by changing direction. Instead of going straight out, go right off to your left or off to your right. It's like fishing a new spot within the same spot. And once you've had 2 or 3 casts in each bit, then move. Nothing there on the Albert Nallis. We've had 10 minutes there. One little bite. But the beauty of this place is there's lots of different water to go at. 5 lakes. So we'll just go and have a little try on the Noose now. We've now moved over to the Noose, which is the smallest lake of the 5. It's actually quite a deep little spot, probably goes to about 6, 7, 8 foot in the middle, but it's also quite deep around the edges. I think this is one water that probably doesn't do too well with lots of fly lanes over the top of it because everybody can cover it. So I think what I like to do here is to cast right down the edges, near the side, near the reeds. Once again, fishing here with the indicator at about 4 foot in this case. And I'm watching it down just like on the Cuthbert Lake for the tigers. I'm watching it down to stopping just above the bottom. I can just see it there now. I'm fishing next to a little inlet, just there. It can be quite a good spot this, but sometimes it's one of those spots where there's loads of fish or there's no fish. So you know quite quickly. I would have expected one on the first or second cast, so we'll try closer to the reeds next time. There's a take there. Oh no. Too busy talking. Still just see it. I think there's a bit of movement around. Oh, turned away. Yeah, there's definitely interest. in there. I think sometimes on small lakes fish can be really pressured, so they tend to go away from the areas that people are casting to and go off down the sides. So it's definitely worth a go just having a cast in these little corners. And there's another corner behind my shoulder there as well, which I'll turn around and have a go at after this cast. That can be pretty good as well. There's one. First cast. Oh, I think this is a bit of an old one. Yep. This one's been in a good while, but we'll get him back straight away. Here on the Noose, it's called the Noose, and next to it is the Hangman's, and obviously it doesn't take a genius for guessing there's actually some pretty gory history near this area. I think it's only a couple of 100 yards away from here was a gibbet, which is a bit similar to a gallows. I think on a search of the internet, it's I think it's where people were displayed after they'd been killed. They were displayed on a crossroads. So don't break the rules at Sharpley. There's one thing that I noticed before with the setup that I've got. The tip of the line was just starting to go under the water, so the most important thing if you're fishing with the indicator is to have that fly line floating and also that leader going up to the indicator floating. If that's burying down into the water, you're going to miss loads of bites. So make sure you've got floating, any kind of floating, your muslins, ginks, anything like that. Just make sure it's greased up, especially on the tip of the fly line, which buries down the most, and then you'll hit more bites. Let's give this a try. One of the things we won't really be able to see here today, unless we're very lucky, is what Sharpley's really good for, and that's dry fly fishing, especially late into the dark nights in the summer. It's unbelievable. All kinds of hatches of buzzers, damsels, olives, you name it, it's in here. And sometimes just on dark in the summer it can be absolutely spectacular, but whilst obviously in early December we're not going to be able to do it, the main tactic here would probably be 4, 5, 6 weight line, 10-foot rod to pick the line up off the water, and probably stick down to literally a size 20 dry fly. A little shipmans or something like that would be brilliant here in the summer. But as we go into winter, we're probably getting more onto the lures, and today, really and truly, there's not many ways around this but using the indicator, because it's just calm. But I would quite happily fish with an intermediate or even a die 5, not so much here, but the die 5 up at that end of the lake is deeper, right up into the dark point where the trees are up there. I think there's a guy up there now. That's about 12, 14 foot deep, so you can get a die 5 or a die 3 to take the fly right down there, and sometimes that can be a good little corner. But nymphs, buzzers, it's a really natural water. It's a brilliant water for just basic light line stuff. And I'd highly recommend a trip here in the spring, sort of like May kind of time. There's certainly no doubt in the popularity of Sharpley. We're here on a freezing cold day in December, on a Tuesday, and just on this lake alone there's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10 people, and that's out of the 5 lakes, so there's other people on the other lakes. This is on a Tuesday, but just so you're aware, as of December 2022 anyway, they do a special loyalty bonus ticket on a Wednesday. So as well as the normal ticket prices, which is obviously popular enough, on a Wednesday you can come from 7:30 in the morning till, depending when it closes in the winter, but let's say 4 o'clock a day in December. You can take your first fish and then you can return as many as you want, and it's only £12, which is absolutely phenomenal value for money. There's you into a good fish over there. That does look a nice one. I think that's his 4th, but I think this is the best one. Well done, you. Whoa, that's a good one, Hugh. Well done. Got it. Oh no. Oh man. That was a great example there of a fish taken and not feeling the hook, and have taken straight away as soon as you put it back in, because when you pull the fly away from it the first time and it doesn't feel anything, it's wondering where its dinner's gone. So always put the fly straight back in over the top, even if you lose them. Shall we? Yeah, we'll do that. Just a normal rainbow, this one. Nothing monstrous about it. It's pretty welcome on a hard day. Changed the fly to a black one. I think that was about the 3rd or 4th cast. But I think we've probably got that one more because we're new to the spot. There we go, brilliant. I'm going to show you this little thing that I found a couple of years ago on Amazon. It's a dead straightforward thing. It's just a piece of foam. So you can put an old tangled knackered rig on here, and as long as you get the first and last wraps of the rig, it's going to stay securely on there. And the best part of it is that when you put it in your pockets, there's no big ends fraying off it. So normally at the end of the day, I used to wrap line around my fingers, and I would just have bits of line falling out my pockets. That's neat and tidy, and when you get home, you can just put your scissors through and cut it 2 or 3 times so you're not putting any long line in the bin. That's one of the best ideas I've come up with for my own fishing. Maybe give it a try. For most of the time, for the indicator fishing, I like to use a longer rod. So, you know, most rods are going to be 9.5 foot, but this is a 10 foot 7-weight. The difference with a 10 foot and a 9'6" is probably that the 9'6", I'm going to guess, would cast a little bit further, whereas the 10 foot probably won't cast far enough, but you're only losing a couple of yards in the cast. The good part of the 10 foot rod is it's the pickup. When you're striking into a fish, you pick up and you pick more line up. So that extra half a foot really does make a difference. It's also very good as well when you're playing a fish. That extra half a foot of carbon does help to tire them out quite a bit. So I do prefer 10 foot rods when I'm fishing small waters. It is nice and fun to fish with a 9 foot or an 8'6", and you know, you get a lot of pleasure out of that. But for day-to-day fishing, I would generally use a 10 foot rod. So that applies to there. I've also got the 10 foot 8-weight. If you're a beginner or you're a 1-rod angler, I would definitely recommend the 10 foot 8-weight to start with. It's, for reasons already discussed, it's got the extra pickup, the extra half a foot of line pickup. It's a little bit stiffer and it'll cast you a little bit further. So if you're struggling with your casting, you'll get 2 or 3 more yards with an 8-weight over a 7-weight. But really and truly, if you've got nobody to guide you on what rod to buy, I would go with a 10 foot 7-weight or a 10 foot 8-weight, probably the 8-weight, just to help with that extra casting distance. It's a good all-round rod. This one here is on the sweet spot of the casting length, which is 9'9", so that's going to cast a little bit further. That 3 inches less just helps you with the casting to go that extra distance. It doesn't have such good pickup off the line, so I use this for sinking line work. So most of the time I've got a die 3 or a die 5 or a hover intermediate on this 9'9", and all the airflow lines and Rio camos and everything go absolutely fantastic with it, and it casts for miles. But if I had to pick one rod to just have by itself, I'll go with a 10 foot 8-weight. If I want to have something that will give us a little bit more casting distance for sinking lines, I would definitely go with a 9'9" weight. But we also do the 9'6", 7-weight and 9'6", 6-weight, and every other iteration there is. It's also worth considering as well, if you do just buy the one rod, then you get the free fly line with it. We give the line away, the Cadence Fly line. So if you buy the 8-weight rod, then we will give you the fly line free of charge. Also, if you buy the reel, so you've got the reel, what that line will go on, we'll also give you a spare spool, which is why this is the best all-round rod for beginners and what have you, is because the spare spool, you could put an intermediate line on or a sinking line on. I'd recommend an intermediate if you're just starting out. So that would basically mean you can get one of our rods, the 10 foot 8-weight with the reel, you'll get the floating line, you'll get a spare spool, you just need to buy the intermediate and you're pretty much all set up for small water fishing. All that's left to say really is if you want to try a rod out, we've got open days. We're going to announce some more in the Midlands fairly soon, but we've got open days here at Sharpley and also at Chatton fairly regularly. So if you look on the Facebook page, on the events page, we'll have those mentioned quite regularly. Sometimes with these tigers, they can come from a different parish to take your fly, and they really go at it quickly. Every one of them has a different reaction to the fly. They're quite an amazing fish to fish for, actually. There's quite a lot of them just switched off and they stay switched off, but then you get one that looks like it's asleep and it just takes off like a rocket. This is another one of the older fish. Once again, actually I don't know, this could be, no, it's one of the older ones. He's had that down, no bother. That's another nice tiger there. That's probably the smallest one of the day, but so far I think we've had 4 or 5, can't remember. Chappie will keep us right. But he's gone away fine. I think we might get 1 or 2 more. This is a slightly better one. Really nice colours on this fish. Lovely fish. Well, we didn't get a fish off every lake. I think the fog and the mist is going to come in and beat us, but this is a nice little fish to end the day. Off the Noose lake, about 1.5 pounds. And he's going to go back absolutely fine. Well, it's been a great day here at Sharpley Springs. Despite the cold, we've had fish from most of the lakes, but we're missing the hangmans. I'm going to go and get warmed up now. Thanks for watching, and see you again next time.